Hi everyone, welcome. Today's check-in is with what I refer to as my original red wiggler worms. And they've been living in these two black tubs for 190 days now. You can already see I've got their food out here. I was going to show you what I was going to feed them, but before we go to that, let's just really quickly go over the stats. It's been 15 feedings so far, so feeding 16 coffee and banana, and after 13 days, my guess is that they're probably ready for today's feeding. The stuff they got last time was like tomato, celery, lettuce, stuff that looked like it might have gone into like a garden salad or something. And today, I had a couple overly ripe bananas that just went into my freezer, and well, to make room for them, I took these two out. These two bananas have been sitting in my freezer for some time, and I didn't peel them or cut them, or well, I did cut them, but I didn't like cut them the way you might think I would. I just put these gashes in along the length of each one in numerous locations to provide the worms with access. And you might have noticed that our system's being 190 days today. If you're a regular here, you'll know that oftentimes we'll kind of shuffle our schedule around, and even though these guys might not be the next in line to get fed again based on who's been waiting the longest, 10 days from now. Although you never know, I could get really busy and get everything caught up such that 10 days from now we would be back to the beginning of the line again and would be feeding these guys anyway, but chances are we'll probably get back to them in 10 days and do so by sort of shuffling our schedule around a little bit to let them fit into the schedule more easily. And then we could celebrate their 200th day in service. A lot of times when I could see that milestone day coming on the horizon, I'll just, kind of preemptively wish them well and let them know that, hey, in 10 days we may or may not be back, so be it. But I got a feeling we might be able to make our way back in. But you know what, just in case, let's just preemptively wish these little guys a congratulatory, celebratory, yay, thumbs up, pat on the back, attaboy, for making it up to day 200, even though that's only more than a week away, 10 days away. Perhaps we won't make it back in time. So let's see how they did do with their last meal. Oh, some of the stuff I'm bumping into already is not from the last meal. I would guess it's probably been in here for quite a long time. There's one pumpkin stem that I once put a counter on in my tracking spreadsheet so I can see how long it's been taking to break down, and it's still in progress, approaching 500 days now over in my Vermibag Mini. But this pumpkin stem, I have no clue when it went in. Who knows? Sometimes big objects like that might even have accompanied the worms from their old home to here. So let's dig in. Some of the stuff they got last time, like the lettuce, I assumed would not be in here, coming back today. I wonder if I made a deliberate exception in this case for that vine, tomato vine. Normally I'll take these out with the assumption that they're just going to take too long to break down, and I throw them in my compost barrel outside. And I might have just had a change of heart on that, thinking that perhaps there is still sufficient time for something like that to actually break down. And luckily it doesn't feel like just a hard stick that's going to sit in here forever. It actually does feel like the stalk is sort of getting thin and weak. So perhaps my concerns are, what's the right word? Unfounded? Alright, we found some stuff like avocado shells, and I can't remember if it was here that we were constantly running into more and more avocado stuff because we fed so much of it over numerous feedings, and here's the pit out of an avocado. So this could be the systems where we were driving the breakdown of avocados, helping along in the process, breaking the shells, breaking the pits, whatever we could do to help. And as you can see, the pits, normally a very tough material, broke pretty readily, and yep, I think we were definitely, yep, we're definitely in the systems here where we had fed a whole bunch of avocado, because I can even see some shells of avocado already. And well, not too surprising, you find a pumpkin stem in one system of a paired up or multiple batch of systems that are managed together. It's not too surprising to find another one in the paired up system. And can't resist giving it a try just to see if perhaps it's weakened to the point where we can break it up. And you know, here's a tomato stem, once again, not too surprising. So I guess we must have done that in a deliberate way to try to keep things fair and equal. So we've got pumpkin stems, we've got tomato stems, we've got avocado leftover, and various other things floating around here. Certain things take a long time, and if you think about the next feeding that they're getting here, these bananas, these whole bananas, those are sort of a combination of the delicious pasty fruit within the peel, which I'm guessing the worms are going to probably almost do away with completely if we do manage to get back here in 10 days. That might even be enough time for them to have worked their way through the little slits I placed into the peels, and hopefully scoop out all the delicious fruit from inside. But when it comes to the peel and the stem, that's going to take them a little bit longer. So let's place down a little bit of bedding to accompany today's feeding. There we go. And right there on top of it can come today's feeding. Let's drop in the bananas. Yeah, baby. That's a nice big size banana. When I was looking at them in the refrigerator, they didn't seem quite so large, but they do seem like they're actually a pretty generous sized banana, as were the ones that I put away yesterday. And hopefully I can get around to feeding those to some systems a little quicker than I did with these. These things have been in my freezer for so long. And you keep thinking to yourself, oh, there's going to be some special occasion where we're going to want to use those full bananas. Well, I've just replenished my supply of stuff to include 2 full new bananas that I put in there yesterday, so I figured it's time for these to go. Definitely time for these to go, and I hopefully the worms enjoy it. Now, I've got a little bit of grit we could toss in. I'm sure they're going to appreciate that as well. And you know what we did last time? It's part of the reason I think that top covering paper that was out here got demolished, because I took my worm chow and I didn't include it down in the feeding like I often do. What I did was I used paper as a top covering at the end, and then to make that paper almost irresistible to the worms, I dampened it thoroughly, gave it a little spray down, and not only that, I sprinkled worm chow right onto the top covering paper. And my idea there was that, you know, even though I would normally put a piece of top covering paper out and it would maybe sometimes just sit out there and not attract much attention of the worms, I figured if it was wet and if it was coated in yummy foods, then it would most likely create a slightly different reaction. And I think it did, you know, because when we first came in here, I definitely could have still sort of picked up little pieces of that paper that was out here if I was careful. I think there was a piece that probably would have been such that I could lift it up as a single whole piece without it breaking, and it would have been about the size of my palm, but that was about the biggest piece that survived the past 13 days since we last checked in here, and that's not too surprising. So I figured I would give that a try again, but instead of using the paper that we used last time, I believe it was, I'm not sure what it was, to tell you the truth. You know, I thought it was the paper that we get our individually wrapped whatchamacall, toilet paper rolls in. So some of you might get it that way. That's what I've got. It's just individually wrapped toilet paper rolls, and the paper that's used to wrap those things, I get the impression that the worms really like it, because every time I use it in the worm bins, the stuff really seems to go quick. So, let's see, look at that, perfect size. How do you like that? Figured I'd try it again. We'd do the same thing again, but you know what? Let's not forget, we've got feeding zone indicators to lay down here to show ourselves where we fed. So let's put those in really quick before we put top coverings on, and then we'll be done. We got this stem sticking out here. Stem of the stem of the banana. I got a feeling that stem's not going to be quite as what's the word? Erect. Is that polite to say or not? Maybe, I don't know. But it does seem to me like after 10 days, there again, just assuming that we will be back here in 10 days. Oh boy, that was quite a bit. Let's give them a bunch too then. Chances are we're not going to have a piece of food that's this capable of standing up and sticking out. I think it's gonna lay down. Although the stem of the banana is what takes longest. You might have noticed in the very beginning I was picking around some of the leftovers, and I did actually tear apart a stem of a banana, and it came apart pretty quickly, but I would assume that took quite a number of weeks to get to that stage of breakdown that I was able to break it apart that readily. And everything will get to that point soon. So yeah, I'm gonna be curious to see how things look in here. I'm not sure about 10 days from now. We'll have to see how things fit into my schedule. Hopefully we'll be back in here to help them celebrate day 200 in service. But once again, just like I did earlier, in case we don't, let's do it again now. Hey guys, in case we don't make it back, happy 200 days. And congratulations. There we go. We've said our piece. That's it for the check-in, everyone. Hopefully you enjoyed it. If you did, as always, please don't forget to leave me a quick thumbs up before you go. That's always really appreciated. And if you haven't done so already, please also consider subscribing to the channel. That's very much appreciated as well. All right, everyone. Have a great day. Thanks for watching. Bye now.